All right, let's dive right into a really fascinating investment thesis for Zcash. It's a privacy-focused crypto, but this case is about so much more than just the tech. It's about Zcash's role in a world that is, let's face it, getting more and more surveilled every single day. So why should you even care about digital privacy? Well, let's get into it. This quote from Zcash founder Zuko Wilcox it perfectly nails the problem we're talking about today. What he's saying is, we used to have privacy just by default, right? Before 1980. Then came this era of constant surveillance. And here's the shocker. Bitcoin, for all its revolutionary promise, actually made things worse. It created what he calls a panopticon, a world where every single transaction is public forever. And Zcash, he argues, is the answer to that problem. So what's the fundamental difference between Bitcoin and Zcash? It's pretty simple, really. Think of Bitcoin's ledger like a public book, where every single transaction is written down for anyone to see anytime they want, forever. Zcash, on the other hand, is like an encrypted diary. It keeps all your financial details private by default. It's literally the difference between shouting your bank balance out loud in a crowded room and whispering it to a trusted friend. And that brings us to our first big idea, what we're calling Bitcoin's panopticon problem. I mean, Bitcoin was an absolute game changer, no doubt about it. But its public nature had this massive and maybe unintended consequence that we really need to dig into. You know, the early cypherpunks, they had this dream of digital cash that was just as private as physical cash in your pocket. But the reality of these transparent blockchains like Bitcoin, it's the complete opposite. Every single transaction you make is a permanent public record. It creates this digital trail that can be followed by anyone, forever. And look, this isn't just some abstract theoretical problem anymore. The source material argues we are staring down the barrel of an oncoming surveillance storm, and it's becoming a really urgent threat to our basic financial freedom. This slide is so important because it breaks down the threat into 4 really clear escalating steps. First, you've got powerful AI that makes analyzing these public ledgers just incredibly easy. That leads to step 2, trivial tracking of all your assets. From there, it's a very short leap to enforcing capital controls, and then, in the most extreme cases, targeted confiscation of your assets. It's a flywheel that just feeds itself, and it could have very real consequences for all of us. And if you think that's just speculation, check out this quote from Nassim Taleb. It just brilliantly highlights the real-world risk of that flywheel. In a world with this level of surveillance, your financial freedom could be at risk because of some incredibly flimsy connection. A connection that is permanently visible on a transparent blockchain. It's a chilling thought, and it's exactly why the need for a digital shield is becoming so urgent. Okay, so after laying out that pretty serious problem, let's talk about the solution. The source material makes the case that Zcash is that purpose-built digital shield. It was designed from the ground up to solve the very challenges of financial surveillance we've just been talking about. So, how does Zcash actually do it? Well, it all comes down to this incredible piece of tech called the shielded pool. The best way to think about it is like a digital vault. When you send your Zcash into this pool, all the transaction details, who sent it, who got it, and how much, are completely encrypted. This is what breaks that chain of traceability that you see on all the public ledgers. And this right here is a really, really crucial point. The source material argues that things like crypto mixers, temporary privacy solutions, they just aren't enough. Why? Because real privacy, true privacy, comes from shielding your funds while they're at rest, while you're holding them over time, not just for that split second when you're making a transaction. And to do that, you need privacy baked into the foundation, the base layer of the protocol itself. And that's exactly what Zcash does. But look, if you follow the crypto space, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, Zcash isn't the only privacy coin out there. And you're right. So why does the source material argue that it stands alone? Let's actually take a look at how Zcash's tech stacks up against some of the other approaches. This table gives us a great side-by-side look. The key takeaway, the real magic here, is that Zcash uses this incredibly powerful cryptography called zero-knowledge proofs. What does that even mean? Well, in simple terms, it lets you prove you have the funds to make a transaction without revealing any other information. It's this tech that allows for near-zero metadata leakage in that shielded pool we talked about, and that is a huge advantage over competitors, which, as the source argues, all have some degree of leakage. Okay, let's drill down a bit further. The source lays out 5 specific reasons why it believes Zcash as a better long-term bet than its main competitor, Monero. It claims Zcash has a better brand for institutional adoption, its move to proof of stake makes it more secure, it has stronger ecosystem support, a sustainable dev fund, and maybe most importantly, that Monero is ultimately trying to catch up to the kind of privacy Zcash already offers. So we've covered the tech, we've covered the philosophy. Now let's get to the really exciting part, the asymmetric bet on privacy. This is where we get into the pure financial case for why you might want to hold some Zcash. $50,000. That's the potential long-term price target for one ZEC, according to this analysis. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds absolutely insane, right? But stick with me, because the logic behind it is actually pretty straightforward. If Bitcoin eventually hits, say, $1 million a coin, and Zcash, as the leading private store of value, captures just 5% of Bitcoin's market, well, that would imply a price of $50,000 per ZEC. Now, is a thesis like that even plausible? This chart is key. It compares the user growth of the privacy-focused messaging app Signal to the mainstream app WhatsApp. Now, obviously Signal is much smaller, but look at its growth rate. It's significantly higher. The thesis here is that we're going to see a similar trend play out for private money, with Zcash playing the role of Signal and capturing a small but very significant share of the market. So, what's the big takeaway here? What's the actionable idea? It all boils down to this one simple number: 1%. The thesis isn't to go all in on Zcash. Not at all. It's to consider a small 1% allocation of your crypto portfolio into shielded ZEC. The idea is simple. If the bet fails, hey, the loss is small. But if it succeeds, that 1% could become incredibly valuable. That's a classic asymmetric bet. But this whole thing isn't just about making money. The argument in the source material goes so much deeper than that. It frames Zcash not just as an asset, but as a crucial tool for freedom in our digital age. And this is where the conversation gets really profound. This paraphrased idea from Edward Snowden suggests that we often get privacy all wrong. It's not just about hiding your personal secrets. It's a collective right that actually protects society as a whole from the dangers of unchecked surveillance. It's really the foundation of a free and open society. And why does this matter so much? Because a world of total financial disclosure, as this slide points out, makes it dangerously easy for powerful actors to start separating society into groups. Once you can analyze and target people based on their associations, their beliefs, or their assets, you create the foundation to act against those groups. Financial privacy is a shield against that exact possibility. And that brings us to the final and most crucial question this explainer leaves us with. In a world where every transaction is becoming a permanent public record, what is the real value of a tool that offers a digital shield? It's something to think about.